Good evening. In previous session, we have seen the concept of local variables, static variables, and also we have seen about instance variables. So in today's session, we are going to see different type of methods we are having in our Python. So before going to see about different methods, let us see about what is meant by a method. So already we have seen the concept of function. So if we are going to write a function inside a class, function inside a class is called a method, is called as a method. Okay, so now let us differentiate what is meant by a function and what is meant by method. So if we are going to write a function inside a class, it is called as a method. Now how we can differentiate this function and method means, to call any function directly, we can call that particular function by using its name. Next, if you want to call a method, compulsory we should have some object reference or we should have some class name. It is compulsory if you are talking about a method. But if you are talking about a function, there directly we can call a function name. By using a function name, we can call this m1. Okay. But if you're going to consider a method, we have to use at least an object reference or a class name. It is compulsory. Okay. Now let us see what are the different types of methods we are having in our Python. So first one, we are having three types of methods in our Python. First one is instance methods. Instance methods. Second one is static methods. So before going to see static methods, we have to see about third type, that is class methods. So these three are the methods that are available in our Python. So here these generally used methods are instance methods and static methods. We will not use these class methods frequently, but we have to know about these class methods because this is the type that is available in our Python. So first let us see about what is meant by a instance method. So let us go to instance method. So in the name it says what? Instance. So in previous sessions we have discussed about instance variables. So if we are going to deal with the instance variables, so there we are going to use what? Self, or we are going to use object reference. Remember that whenever we are talking with a concept of instance variables, there we are using what? Self variable or object reference we are using to access or to initialize any values for these particular instance variables. Now we are talking about what? Instance method. In the name it is having instance. That means these methods also can be accessed or called by using the object reference. Or if you want to use, generally we will call with the help of object reference only. Whenever we are talking about instance variables or instance methods, compulsory objects has to be there in that concept. Okay. Now let us go in detail about this instance methods. So first type is what? Instance methods. So first point we have to understand about this instance methods is, so if already I told you, I have discussed this point, if we are using already in previous session I have shown you some examples of instance methods. So when we can call a method as instance method means, if we are using self, observe that if you are using a self as a method parameter, okay, if you are using a self as a method parameter, or if you are going to consider inside that method, if you are going to write self in front of any variable or in front of a variable, that method is called as, that method is instance method. That method is instance method. Once again I'm repeating. So how we can call one method as an instance method means, let us consider here if I am going to write def m1 here, this is which type of method? Can I say this is an instance method or static method or a class method? No, it should have at least one parameter. That parameter also what? Self we are going to take. So is it compulsory to have only self? So it may be anything, it may be any name, but generally we will use self. So after completing instance variables, we will go to class, after completing instance methods, we will go to class methods. There I will clearly say what should be the parameter if you are using instance, what should be the parameter if you are using CL class methods. Okay, for just now you have to understand what, if you are going to write self as a method parameter, then we can say that that method is a instance method. So this point is only up to now. Later I will change this point when we are going to the concept of class methods. There I can differentiate about the class methods and instance methods. Now next, here if you are using self dot a, that means what, here we can also use self in front of a variable. So that one I have written here in front of a variable. That method is called as what? Instance method. This is the first point we have to understand about instance variables. So otherwise, if you want to speak in normal way, that means directly if I want to say what is meant by this instance method, means see here, if we are accessing instance variables, see, if you are accessing instance variables inside a method, then that method is called as instance method. Then that method is called what? Is instance method. This point, if you are unable to understand first point, there is no problem. You have to understand at least second point. In that second point, what we can understand? Second point is telling what? If you are accessing a instance variables, where we can write instance variables inside an instance a method only, or we can write inside a constructor. So if you are going to access instance variables inside a method, that method is called as what? Instance method. So next, let us see third point about this instance method. So these are already I have discussed about instance variables and instance method. That is what? These are related to, these are object related methods or object related. These are object related methods. That means whenever we are talking about instance methods, there we require some object to access that method or to call that method. So generally in instance methods, what we will use? Instance variables. That is instance variables. Instance variables are used with instance methods. Okay, so whenever you are talking about instance method, there we are going to use instance variables. Next point is, if we are going to consider instance method, in that instance method we can have what? Instance variables, and we can also have other statements also if you want to write any other thing. So within a class, next point, within a class or within the class, we can, that means how to call this instance method? We can call instance method by using self variable. Very important point. By using what? Self variable. That means if you want to call any instance method inside a class, we have to use what? Self variable. If we are inside the class, if we are outside the class, if we want to call that instance method, then we have to create what? We have to create object. We have to create object, refer object, and we have to, or we should call with that, object reference. Okay, this is very important. So this is the important point we have to understand. That is what, if you are going to call a instance method inside a class, compulsory we should have what? Self variable. If we want to call a instance method from outside the class, then we should have what? An object should be there, and that by using that object reference, we have to call this instance method. So these are the important methods we have to understand about instance method. So first point is what? If we are using self as a method parameter or in front of a variable, that method, if we are going to use self in front of that variable, then that method is called as what? Instance method. Otherwise, if we are accessing instance variables inside a method, then that type of method is called as what? Instance method. So generally these instances are related to what? Objects. So these methods are related to objects. Next, which type of variables are related to these instance methods? Instance variables. Next, how to call these instance methods? If you want to call these instance methods from within the class, if you want to call the instance methods, we have to use what? Self variable. Otherwise, if you want to call instance methods from outside of the class, compulsory we have to use what? Object reference. Okay, so now let us go to a small example which makes you understand clearly about these instance methods. Okay, right, here I'm going to take one class called as students. Okay, just I want to talk about the student details. So just I'm going to take a class name called as student. So here just I will take one constructor. Okay, I'm going to take one constructor. For that we should have one parameter. Is it compulsory to have a self name here? No, it is not compulsory to have only self here. We can have anything, any name, but generally we will use what? Self only. It is recommended to write self only. So self comma name comma marks. Okay, right. Now observe here how many parameters I have to pass to this constructor when I'm going to create an object. Two parameters I have to pass. One is name, another one is marks I have to pass to this constructor. So after passing that, I have to initialize that self dot name equal to name. That means this is which variable? This is called as instance variable. Next, self dot marks equal to marks. That means what? I am passing while creating an object. I am going to pass two parameters, so that two variables are going to be created. Two instance variables are going to be created for that object. Right, up to here we have created two instance variables. Now I will take one method because we are talking about instance methods here. So let us take display method. So here what should be there? Self should be there. Okay, if you are not going to write self, what happens? It will be another method. We will discuss that one after completing these instance methods. But for now you have to understand what? If you are going to write a method with a self variable, then it is called as what? Instance method. You may get doubt that, sir, is it compulsory to write only self? No, you can write any name here, but it is recommended to write only self. So here what I want to print? I want to print the details. That is what? Hi. Just I want to print name. So whatever the name I am going to pass, it is going to print here. So here which name has to be print? Self dot name, because if it is called by one object, that name has to be printed. That means T1, T2 or two objects are there. If T1 is calling display method, the name that is present in T1 has to be printed. If T2 is calling this display method, the name inside that T2 has to be printed here. Okay. Next, I want to print the marks also. Okay, here just I will write your marks are. Just I will write here self dot marks. So here what I have done here, just I have taken two variables and I am going to display that marks here. Now, but based on that marks, I want to give the gradings. Okay, just I will define one more method. So which type of method it is? Just I am going to write define def grading. Here I will write self. By seeing this one, you can understand it as a instance method. So already we know about the gradings. Just I will take a self dot marks. If it is greater than 80, generally we will say what? It is a distinction. So just I will print distinction. You got distinction. Okay, you got distinction. Okay, after that, if you are going to say next marks, just I will take only up to 35 all grades I will take here. Else if self dot marks, what should be? If it is not greater than 80, it will be less than 80. If it is less than 80 and greater than 60, then we can say what? It has a first class. Self dot marks greater than or equal to 60 and self dot marks less than 80. That means, what is the meaning of this one here? The marks between 16 to 80. If you get the marks between 60 to 80, we are going to say that marks as what? First class. So just I want to print what? You got first class. I have to say this message to that particular student. You got first class. Okay. The next same example, that is same marks. For the second class, what is the marks? Here I will take else if less than 60, and for example for second class I will take up to 50 to 60 as is second class, for example. So here I am going to take print. What I have to take? You got second class. Okay, right, completed. Now one more thing it is remaining, that is what? Okay, we are having third class also. Let us write third class also. That is what? Less than 50 and greater than or equal to 35. Okay, that is marks greater than or equal to 35 and less than 50. We will call it as what? Third class. Okay, just I will say you got third class. Okay, completed. If these are the not cases, if these are the if you are not going to satisfy all these conditions, then we have to go to which case? Excuse, else case. So in else case we will not have any condition, because if you are not getting the marks above 35, it will be what? Automatically we are going to say him as a you are failed. You are failed. Okay. So this is a class that is going to contain about student details, student marks and student name. Now this is the class I have completed. Now just I want to take the number of students here. So just I'm going to write input of enter number of students. Enter number of students. How many number of students you want? So it will be taken, and so as it is going to take in the form of a string, I want to convert it to a integer. So just I will convert it into a integer. Okay. Next, after that, so let us consider 3 students I want to take, 3 student marks I want to take. So for every student I want to take, so for I in range of, so how many times this thing has to be done? N times, because n may be any value. N times we have to run this loop. In that loop, what I'm going to take means, first I will take student name, after that his marks, after that what I will do? I will tell that grade, the grade of that particular student. So here I'm going to write name. I am asking him to enter his name. So input, enter your name. Enter your name. So that he is going to enter his name. And also I want to ask him to enter his marks, so that I can say him what? I can say him his grade. Okay, enter your marks, so that he is going to enter the marks. So let us take marks as an integer. You can also take float, there is no problem, but generally I will take, you can take anything. I have taken it as what? Integer. Now marks as given and name as given. Now I want to create one object of type student. Let us take s equal to student. While I'm creating object, how many parameters are there in a constructor? 2 parameters are there. Just here I will pass 2 parameters. One is name and other one is marks. Okay, so whenever student is going to be created, this constructor is going to be executed, and it is going to create 2 variables, for 2 instance variables for this s object. After that I will call s dot display, so that it will display what? It will display name and marks. After that I want to see the grade also, s dot grading. So I will get what now? Grade of the student we are going to get. Now observe carefully, what is the program I have written here is, This is for what? Initializing the, 1 minute. This is for what? Initializing variables. That is which variables? Instance variables. After that, this is what? For displaying marks and name. This is for what? Displaying your grade. Now here I have created what? Enter number of students. I am going to give, and it is stored in what? N. This loop will be continued for how many times? N number of times. So first here I am asking the name of the student. Okay, I am asking what? Here name of the student. So name of the student, for example, Shiva, he is going to give. After that, he is going to enter his marks. Let us consider 100 marks. So here I am going to create an object. So whenever, for every loop it is going to create it. So S I am going to create. In that, what I am passing? Shiva and 100, because name is Shiva, marks are 100. It will be passed here, and two variables are going to be created. One is name, another one is marks. Equal to Shiva and equal to marks is nothing but 100. And also these two methods are what? Instance methods. So these are available for your object. So display is available, and also one more method called as grading is also available for this S. So now see, S dot display is available for this S. It is available. So it will call this method hi self dot name. Who is calling this display? S is calling display. Then automatically self become what? S only. S dot name. S dot name is what? Shiva. So hi Shiva will be printed. Next, your marks are self dot marks. Self dot marks is nothing but what? 100. So your marks are 100 will be printed. After that, I am calling S dot grading. Is S dot grading is available? S grading is available in S. So it will call grading. So while it is calling grading, what happens? Who is calling this grading? S. So self becomes what? S. So self dot marks means S dot marks 100. Is 100 greater than or equal to 80? No. Sorry, yes. So we are going to get what? Distinction. Otherwise, if these marks are 40, for example, so it will go here. This condition is not going to be satisfied. If we go here, this condition is not going to be satisfied. If we come here, the condition is satisfied. So the output will be what? You got third class. So let us take 3 student information, and I will take different grading for those 3 students. Okay, now observe. So here it is asking what? Enter number of students. I am going to take 4 students. It is asking name. I am going to give Shiva. It is asking for marks. I am going to give some 75 marks. So it is going to tell you what clearly. Hi Shiva, your marks are 75. You got first name. Sorry, you got first class. Okay, completed. Second student information it is asking. So second student name I am going to give as Channa. Okay. So his marks are let us take less than 40, so less than 60. Okay, let us take 55. So what it is telling? Hi Chennai, your marks are 55. You got second class. Next, I am going to take name as Kashi. Okay, here what I am going to take the marks as less than 50. I will take less than 50. That is what? 45. So what it is telling? Hi Kashi, your marks are 45. You got third class. And last I am going to take as fail. Ram. I'm going to take Ram. The marks are 30 only. So it's going to tell you what? Hi Ram, your marks are 30. You are failed. So in this example, what we have to observe is how we are going to call the methods. Which methods are these and how we are going to call this. So to call this one, I'm going to use what? Object reference. And to call this one, what I'm using? Object reference. That means for calling any instance methods, I require what? Object reference. So, and these methods are what? Instance methods. How we can say it as instance methods? Because here we are having some parameter. It may be self or you can have any name, but generally we will take self. Okay, so that we are going to have what? If you are having at least one parameter without having any annotation, if you are having any parameter, at least one parameter, we can call that one as what? If you are having self parameter, we have to call it as what? Instance methods. Okay, this is about instance methods. Already we have taken one example. Now let us see briefly once again. So if you are having a self as a parameter for a method, we can call it as a what? Instance method. or if you are going to access the instance variable from a method, that method is called as instance method. So these methods are related to what? Object. Why it is related to object also we have seen, because without having the object concept we cannot call those methods. Okay, next. So instance variables are used with what? Instance methods. So if you want to call an instance method within a class, then I have to call what? With the help of self variable. If you want to call outside the class, that is what I am calling from outside the class. So I have to use what? Object reference. So I have used what? Object reference. Let us take the same example. Here I want to call. From here, I don't want to call from here. I am going to remove this one here. Observe carefully. I am removing here. Now, see here I am going to write from inside a class. This is what inside a class only. This is inside a class. I want to call from here. Just what I have to call? Self dot display. So if I write self dot display, what we are going to get answer? Same output we are going to get. Just I will write only one student. I will write here. Enter name Shiva. Enter marks 85. I am going to take. So see, it is going to display also. Hi Shiva, your marks are 85. These two statements are present in display method and it is present in grading only. So we got output. As we are having the same output, see here you can observe same output we got here also. Okay, that means what we have to understand, if you are going to call a method from within the class, then I have to use what? Self. Next, outside the class, that means outside means after the statement, all these statements are outside the class only. We have to use what? Object reference. So this is about the concept of instance methods. Next, before going to class methods, I want to discuss about a small concept called as setter and getter methods. Okay, the method names are what? Setter and getter methods. What is meant by the setter and getter? In the name it says what? Setting and getting. Setter and getter. Setting and getting. There is nothing but what? Setting the value and getting the value. So these are the methods that are used to setter and getter methods. These are not type of a methods, but these methods are used for what? Setting a values and getting the values. So in Python, if you are going to see about the setter and getter methods, if we compare the setter and getter methods with any other object oriented programming language, it is different. Okay, here it is different. The setter and getter method concept is different from any other object oriented programming language. Generally, what is the main purpose of this getters and setters method in object oriented programming is to ensure data encapsulation. What is that? Why we are going to use these setter and getter methods? To ensure data encapsulation. So don't worry about this data encapsulation. We will see this concept after completing this methods concept. We will go into the principles of object oriented programming. There we can observe what is meant, we can understand what is meant by encapsulation. So just I will briefly explain about this encapsulation. So private in our Java, if you are going to consider, there we are having private variables. In our Python also we are having private variables. But private variables, this is very important point to understand. Private variables in Python are not actually hidden. Okay, are not actually hidden fields like in any other, like in any other OOP. OOP is nothing but object oriented programming languages. Okay, so private variables in Java is nothing but what? It is hidden. But in the concept of Python, in Python, private variables means what? Those are not hidden. So what we have to do? So what we have to do means, to make data secure, we are going for the concepts of setters and getter methods. Okay, first I want to talk about setter method. What is meant by setter method? In its name it is having what? It is going to set the value. Okay, setter, it is setting something. What it is going to set means, it is going to, these methods are going to set the values. For whom? For the variables. For the variables. It can set the values, or you can also say modify the values. Modify the values. So what is the use of this setter method? Setter method is going to set the values for the variables, or it can modify the values. So as it is going to modify, we can call the setter methods as mutator methods also. Mutator, mutable. I think we have seen the concept of mutable and immutable while we are discussing about data types in our Python. Okay, so what is meant by mutable? Which can be modified. So here we are talking about modification only, so we can call these type of setter methods as what? Mutator methods. Next, let us see about getter method. Getter methods, in the name it says what? It is used to, these methods are used to get some value. Okay, it is used to get the value or get the values from the, otherwise I can say of the variable, of the variables, or we can say accessing, or we can say what? To access values. So here what we are doing? Accessing the values. So we can call these getter methods as accessor methods. Accessor, ACCESSOR, accessor methods. So what is the use of setter method? Setter methods are used to set the value or to modify the values. So it is also called as what? Mutator methods. What is meant by getter methods? Getter methods are used to get the values, or we can access the values by using these getter methods. So these methods are also called as accessor methods. Okay, so how setter method will be there? Just I will give a small example. So it looks like a method only because it's a method. So but why we are using this method? For setting the values. So the name generally for set the value. For example, set variable. So general syntax I'm going to write. Define set variable of, here what I'm going to write, self. Here whatever the value you want to set, pass that variable. Okay, just I will take here variable, pass some variable. So inside that, what I am going to write? Self dot variable equal to variable. So just don't worry about this syntax. Just I will take an example for this one. That is what? Define set name. That means this method is used for what? Setting the name. So can I call this one as a setter method? Yes, because this method is used for what? Setting the name. So that self here I have to write, and we have to write what is the variable here. We are going to see name. The name will be passed to this one, and inside that I am going to write self dot name equal to name. I am going to set this name to the instance variable. So this is about a setter method. Let us see a getter method also. Same here we are going to have what? Define get variable. Just this is a syntax. Inside this, if you are going to get the value, what is meant by getting the value? Already it is present, so that I want to get that value. So no need of passing any parameter here. Just we will pass self here. So just already it is having, it has to return to us. So return self dot variable. Whatever the variable you want, it is going to return that particular variable. Example, same example here I am going to write. So getting, so get name. Okay, get name of self. Here already we are having what? Name is there. So return self dot name. That means it is going to return what? It is going to return name. So that means what? By using this method, I am going to get some value. Okay, which value? Name value. So I am calling this method as what? Getter method, and this method is used to what? Set the value. So these methods are called as what? Setter methods. So setter method is also called as mutator methods, and getter method is also called as what? Accessor methods. So for this, just I will take a small example so that you will get a clarity on this setter and getter methods. So here I will take the same again, student details only. So class student. Okay, just I want to take student details. So here for setting the name and for setting the marks, I have to take what? setter methods. For getting the name and for getting the marks, I have to take getter methods. So define, I want to set the name. So generally the method names will be, it starts with small letter. If there is any other word in that method name, we will use a capital letter. Okay, we should not give any spaces. Okay, so define set name. Here what I am setting the name. Which name you have to set? I will pass that one as a parameter. So same thing here I will write self dot name equal to name. I have set the name here. After that, if I want to get that name, what I will write? Define get name. Okay, here I will pass only self. I am going to write here. So just return, when I am calling this method, just return self dot name. It is going to return what? Name. In the same way, I am going to write for marks also. Okay, just I will write here. This is for what? For setting the marks. For setting the marks. So just here what I have to pass? I have to pass marks. Okay, right here what will be there? Marks will be there, and just I will take instance variable names. Name is also a marks. Here for what I am going to use this one? For getting the marks. So self dot marks I am going to return completed. My class is completed. Just I want to write same whatever the concept we have seen before. Same thing I will do here. That is nothing but what? N equal to number of students you want to take. Okay. Int of, I will take input, enter number of students. Okay, same whatever the example we have seen before, same example I'm going to consider here. Enter number of students, so that you are going to enter, that will be stored in n. So for I in range of n, so this loop is going to be continued n number of times. So just I'm going to create a student object, because I am not going to pass any values here, because I am going to set the values by using setter methods. But in before case, what I have done, while I am going to create an object, I am calling the constructor. Okay, but here is there any constructor? There is no constructor. So default constructor is going to be called. Okay, s equal to student. Now which methods I have to call? Oh, name equal to, I want to ask the name. Input, okay, input of enter the name. Just I'm asking him to enter the name. So the student will enter the name. After that, I want to set that one, whatever the name that is entered by our student, that has to be set. Where s dot set name, s dot set name of name, whatever the name we are going to pass, it will be passed to name here. So it will be setted here. After that, I want to ask marks. So marks equal to, in integer I am going to take. So input of enter the marks. I am going to write enter the marks. I am going to write here. So he is going to enter what? He is going to enter the marks here. After that, I want to set that s dot set marks is going to set the marks. With what? I want to pass the marks also. Right. I have set the marks. Now just I want to get those values. I want to get those. That means what? I have to call get marks and get name. If I'm going to call get name or get marks, it is going to return something. When a method is going to return something, I have to store it in a variable. Otherwise, directly I can print. So I don't want to store it. Just I want to print that. What it is going to return? First, it is going to return a name. Just I will write here. Name is, here I have to call what? S dot get name. Okay, after that I am getting the marks. Okay, here I have to call what? Marks are just I will call what? S dot get marks. Okay, right. Now observe here carefully. Here what we are going to see, first the program is going to start execution from here. So n value I am going to take 3, for example. So this loop is going to be continued 3 times. Just I will explain only once now. S equal to student. So one object is going to be created, and student, is there any constructor here? Not there. So that it is not going to execute that constructor. But how many instance methods are there? 4 are there. So those 4 are available here. Set name, get name, next one set marks, get marks. So these 4 methods are available for this S. Okay. Now name equal to some name, he is going to enter Shiva, for example. Name value is what? Shiva. So S dot set of Shiva, that means it will come to here, and self dot name equal to name, that is nothing but here inside this one variable is going to be created, that is called as Shiva. Okay, this is entire one variable. Next, after that it is going to set the name. Next, marks he is going to enter, let us consider 100, it is stored in marks. S dot set of marks, set marks, marks, that means what? It is going to call set marks, and marks are going to be passed, that is 100, and one more variable that is going to be created is what? Marks equal to 100. Completed. In this step we are going to do that. Next, here what I'm going to do, name is S dot get name, that means already name is present, I want that name, so get that name, so it is going to call get name. It is going to return what? Self dot name. Self means what? Who is going to call? S is going to call, so self act as what? S dot name, what is there? Shiva will be printed. Here Shiva will be printed instead of this S dot get name, Shiva will be printed. That is what name is, Shiva is printed. After that marks are will be printed. After that we are calling what? S dot get marks. So the control goes here. So now self is nothing but what? S dot marks. What are the marks we are having? 100. So marks are 100 will be printed. So this is about setter and getter methods. So just I will execute this program so that we will get the clarity on this setter and getter methods. So just I will take only 2 students. I will take name Shiva, I am going to take mark 75, I am going to take. See, directly it is going to print what name is Shiva and marks are 75, and name I am going to print take as Ram here and marks as 85. So see what it's going to give, name is Ram and marks are 85. So this is about setter and getter method. So these two are, this is what this is setter method and this is setter method, and this is what getter method and this is also getter method. So if you are going to write any method for setting the values, better write set. The name of that method starts with set. For what, which value you are going to set, write down that variable as here. Next, for getting, here I am going to write what, this method is going to return some value, which value? Name. So that I am going to write what, get name. For this is for what, for setting the marks, so write down set marks. This is for what, getting the marks, so better to write get marks. So this is about what, setter and getter methods. So here what is the main advantage of this setter and getter methods? Okay, that is the main use of this getter and setter methods is, observe now, to avoid, observe carefully, to avoid direct access. See here, to avoid direct access of a class field. What is meant by class fields? Variables. That is nothing but private variables cannot, don't worry about private variables, I will discuss. Private variable cannot be accessed directly, or it cannot be modified by external users. So how it is possible? See here I am going to write variables here inside a method, so that if I want to access this method, I have to call what? Sorry, if I want to access this variable, I have to call what? This method I have to call. That means what? Compulsory, if you are going to, that means here I am going to avoid the accessing these variables directly, because I have declared these variables inside a method. So that what I am saying, to avoid direct access of a class field, there is nothing but variables, private variables cannot be accessed directly or modified by the external users if you are going to use the concept of setter and getter methods. Setter method is also called as, that means what, setting. Setter method is also called as what, mutator. Okay, next, getter method is also called as accessor methods. Okay, this is about setter and getter methods. Now let us see the concept of class methods. Okay, the important one, because this type of methods you may not see anywhere. Generally these are not used, so that better listen carefully about these class methods. So just I will give you some important points about this class method, and I will start as writing a small program for these class methods. So what is meant by class methods? So in the name it says what? Class. Already in previous session we have seen what static variables are nothing but what? Class level variables. Okay. Now we are talking about class methods. So when we have to use the concept of class methods means whenever you want to write only static variables inside a method, only static variables, whenever you want to write only static variables, okay, which is nothing but what? Class variables, then we have to use, okay, only static methods inside a method, only static variables inside a method. Then better use which methods? Better go to class methods. Okay, this is the concept of class methods. If we want to use only static variables, which are nothing but a class variables inside a method, then we can use class method concept. That is what it is, nothing but what? Class method contains only static variables. By this point we have to understand what? Otherwise we can also write what? Class methods will contain only which method, which members, which variables? Static variables, or we can say it as a what? Class variables. This is very important point to understand. Okay, now let's go to next point. How to, very important point, because this type of this type of decorator is not present for your instance method, so that I will explain clearly for the second point. That is second point is for, sorry, we can declare class methods explicitly by using, this is very important, by using @ class name. This is the decorator we have to use. @ class name decorator should be used. Okay, it is compulsory. Now observe carefully how to define this particular class method. I will explain. Define method name, and here what we have to write? Let us take CLS. As it is a class method, I am going to write what? CLS. You may think that by seeing this one you can understand what, sir? Before you told what? M1 of self we have to take. So if we compare these two, those two are looks like same. How it looks like same? Here one parameter is there, here one parameter is there. Sir, already you told that instead of self we can write any name, so that I have written CLS. For example I'm telling, that means what? These two methods are called as instance methods. How we are telling this one as a class method? Sorry. Here we have to write what? Class method. Here I have to write what? Class method, not class name. @ class method I have to write. So what happens here? Define M1 CLS. These two methods looks like same. I can call these two methods as what? Instance methods only. There is no problem. You may think that, sir, you told here self, you told here CLS. The name can be anything. There is no problem. Instead of this self, I can place CLS. So both looks like same. So to differentiate between instance method and class method, for a method, if you are going to write @ class method decorator, then this method becomes what? Class method. If you are not going to write any decorator for any method which is having at least one parameter, those methods are called as instance methods. So already when I am discussing about instance method, I told that the same point will be repeated in class methods. So see, you may think that, sir, these two are same, but here It is having at the rate class method. So these methods I can say what as a class methods. For class methods, at least one parameter should be there. Generally, it can be any name, but it is recommended to write parameter as CLS only because it is a standard notation. Here also we are going to, for instance, methods also we can use any name, but standard notation is what? Standard terminology is what? Self only. So that I will also write self only. You also better to write only self. Okay. This is the difference between class method and instance method. Once again, I'm repeating. Class method means it should have compulsory at the rate class method decorator. And what about instance method? Instance method and class methods looks like same if there is no concept of at the rate class method. Okay. So to differentiate between instance methods and class methods, I am going to write, or sorry, Python people has written what? At the rate class method. So class method will contain what? Only static variable inside that method. Okay. So for class method, we have to provide what in brackets as a parameter? CLS variable. Compulsory it should be there. If you are not going to get this one, we are going to get an error. Because you are telling what? You are telling this one as a class method. If you are telling it as a class method, at least one parameter should be there. It may be any name, but we will take what? We will take it as a CLS to indicate this one as a class method. If you are talking about instance method, to indicate it as instance method, I will take as what? Self. Here also you can take any name. Here also you can take any name. But it is recommended to take for class method CLS, for instance methods self. Okay. Instead of CLS, what? We can write any name, but it is recommended to write only CLS. Okay. This is about class method. Okay. Once let us see how to call these class methods. So we can call these class methods both by using class names, and by using object reference also. There is no problem. Okay, sorry, 1 minute here. Okay, yes, object reference, there is no problem. This is a class methods. Okay, so what happens here? If you want to call this type of methods, class name, or we can use what? Object reference, but it is recommended to use only class names for calling the class methods. Okay, this is the important point. You can call it, there is no problem, but if you call this class method with the help of object reference, for example, I am calling s.m1. Okay, the name of this one is m1, the name of this one I am taking as m2. S.m1 and s.m2. Can you identify which type of method is this one? Which type of method is this one? I cannot identify, because this same way I am calling. Is it a class method or instance method? I don't know. So that if you write here a class name, for example, a.m1, so you will think what? Okay, as we are calling with a class name, this is not an instance method. It is not an instance method. It may be class method or static method, but it is not a instance method. So as we are calling with the methods, sorry, we are calling with the object name, so that we can consider this method as what? Instance method. As we can call this class method also with the help of object reference, I am not recommending that. You can do so, but it is not recommended. Better call with the help of class names only. So just I will take a small example to demonstrate this concept, so that you will get an idea on this class methods. Same here, just I will take a different example here. Class human I will take. Human being having what? Legs, eyes, those example I am going to take. Eyes, how many eyes are there? 2 eyes are there. How many ears are there? 2 ears are there, for example. So here directly I have written inside what? Inside a class. Inside a class, if I write anything inside a class, those variables are called as what? Those variables are called as static variables. Okay. Now I want to write class method. Compulsory I should have what? Class method decorator should be there. Okay. After that, define. This is for what I am writing. Let us take it as a works method. So inside this one, at least one parameter should be there. Maybe any name. There is no problem. Yes. Here also I want to declare one more variable called as cls.legs. So if you want to declare a static variable inside a class method, we have to use cls.variable. Otherwise, we have to use class name.variable. So here I am writing what? cls.legs. How many legs? 2 legs. So you can write here or you can write here. There is no problem. But I want to tell you what static variables can be written here or static variables can be written here. To say that one, I have written here. Okay. Now, the main concept I'm going to enter. Inside this method, which type of variables should be there? Only static variables. So that I will take only static variables here. So how many static variables are there? Eyes, ears, and legs are static variables. So here I want to take what? I want to take one parameter also. I can take one parameter also, because class method can have will have at least one parameter. I can take any number of parameters. There is no problem. So here, as already you know about format method, so just here I will write replacement operator. Just I want to write a name here. Can see with how many eyes? 2 eyes. So just I will write here replacement operator eyes. Okay, right, completed. Dot format of. So first one name I am going to write here. I will write name. Which name? CLS dot name. Compulsory I have to write what? Inside a, if you want to access static variables inside a class method, we have to use what? CLS. So name directly I can write here. Okay, there is no problem. But if I want to access eyes, ears, I have to write what? CLS dot eyes here. Because this name is what? I'm passing here. So these are what? Static variables. So CLS dot I will write C. Sorry, eyes I am going to write. Next, same thing I will write for ears also. For with ears, what can I do? I can listen. Ears I am going to write. So 2 ears. So can listen. Just I will write here. Can listen with 2 ears. Next one, just for walking, I am having 2 legs. So just here I will write what? Legs I am going to write here. Legs. So here I am going to write 2 legs. So just I am going to write legs here. With legs, what we are going to do? We can walk. We can walk. Okay. See here. Just I have written a small example. You can write any case, but I want to show you what? I want to show you only static variables can be used here. Okay. Completed. Just I want to create works method I want to call. So for just three times I will call here, 2 or 3 times. Just I will call. I will, for space purpose, I am going to write print once again. Right here, I can call with class name. So human dot works I will call. Okay, human dot works. So in that name I have to pass. First I will pass Shiva. Okay. Then what happens? Everything will be executed for with Shiva name. After that, I told you what I can also access with the help of object. So object I am going to create here. So by using that object also I am going to call now. H dot works I am calling now. So that we are going to have, I will pass one name here as completed. So I am going to show you how to call your class methods by using a class name or by using the object reference. So I am going to show you both the examples. So now observe what will be the output. As I am passing Shiva, Shiva can what? See with 2 eyes. Shiva can listen with 2 ears. Shiva can walk with 2 legs. In the same way, I am calling with the help of object reference here. So same thing is going to be executed. Okay. So generally, okay, I will take one more example for this one, so you can get a clarity. Just I want to count number of objects. I want to write a small program to count number of objects that are created for any particular class. Okay, what I want to write? The program for what? The program to count number of objects. To count number of objects. Now observe here. Just I am going to write class A. I am going to write. Okay. Count. Initially count is 0. I have not created anything. So count is 0. I want to define a constructor. I want to write here. Init I have taken. Init is nothing but what? A constructor. Right. Self I am going to write. In this, I can access a static variable by using a class name count equal to test dot count plus 1. Okay. So for every object, it is going to count. Now I want to define what? Class method, because we are talking about class methods. So for that, first I have to write what? Decorator I have to write. @ class method. Okay. Next, define. I want to write for what purpose we are going to write this one? For finding number of objects. Number of objects I am going to write. So generally we will write a capital letters. Okay. Number of objects. Here, just this is a class object. At least what we should have, one parameter we should have. So in this, what can I print? I will print number of objects here, because inside this class method I can access static variables. There is no problem. We have to access only static variables here. So number of objects created. Okay, created are how many? Where it is present inside a count, comma cls dot count. We can access here static variable. So we are going to get the output. Now observe here, just I'll save this one. First I will create a objects here. So A1, object name is A1. So one object is created. If I execute this one, otherwise just I will create one more object A here. I'm going to create two objects. Now just I will call a method called as number of objects, that is A dot. Here what is the method name here? Number of objects. So the same method I will call here, and let us execute this program. How many objects are created? 2. So if I execute the output, we are going to get what? Sorry, somewhere I have written test. 1 minute. Sorry, here test I have written. I have taken the class name as A. So just here what I have to write? A I have to write. Right, now observe here. What is number of objects? How many? 2 I have created. Next, I want to create 2 more objects here. For example, A3 equal to A and A4 equal to A I am going to take. How many objects I have created here? 4 objects I have created. Once again, if I execute the same statement here, so here how many objects? Up to here 2. Up to here total 4 are there. So answer will be what? First it will print true 2. Next it will print 4. Okay. So in this way we can use the concept of class methods. So remember one point. These methods are generally not used. Only instance methods and static methods will be used. But this is also one of the type of class methods we are having. Sorry, we are having this type of methods. So that I have discussed about this class methods. Now last type of method, that is static methods. Okay. For this we have few important points to discuss. Let us discuss those important points. Static methods. So very important. Right, now observe here. So if you are, let us consider, if you are not using any instance method and static methods, okay, sorry, if you are not using any instance and static variables, then we should go for the static methods. So till now what we have discussed, for instance methods, which variables we have to use? Instance variables. Okay. Next, for class methods, we have used what? We have used the concept of static variables or class level variables, we can call it. If we are going for instance methods, we have to use instance variables. If we are going for class methods, we have to use static variables. I don't want to use instance variables and I don't want to use static variables, but I want to write a method and I want to access some variables. Then we have to go for the concept of static methods. That is, if you don't want to use, or if you don't want to use instance variables or static variables, then we have to use the concept of static methods. So generally, why we are going to use these methods? As for utility purpose, or we can call these methods as utility methods. For utility purpose. That means, for example, I need one work, so better go to the static methods and it is going to do it. At the instance it's going to do and it is going to give. In the same way, I want to do some other work, so write that static method. Okay, here there is no concept of any other requirements. There is no concept of instance variables, there is no concept of static variables. Directly I will give the data to it and it's going to work on that data. It is going to give me the result. Okay, and again some other data I'm going to give, it is going to perform on that data and it is going to give the result. But here what is the concept? Here instance variables will be stored in objects and here also we can access with the class name. This type of concepts are there, but for these static methods, for only it will work for us and it will give the result. Okay, right. So here inside these methods we won't use any instance or class variables. Already I have discussed here. Here we are not using what we can say instance variables or static variables. Static, or we can call it as what, class level variables or class variables. We are not using instance or class level variables, which is nothing but a static variables. This is important point. You may confuse that, sir. In static methods we will use static variables. It is wrong. It is not correct. Okay, in static methods we will not use what, we are not using the concept of instance or static variables. Okay, so in the same way, if you are going to see instance methods, there we have to use what, first parameter as self. In the same way here in class methods we have to use what, some parameter CLS, but here it is not compulsory. It is not here, no need of using anything here, no need of having self or CLS or any other parameter. It is not compulsory to have at least one parameter. It is not compulsory. Okay, so how to declare this one? Very important. We can declare static method. We can declare static method. How to declare? By using, very important, by using @ static method decorator. Static method decorator. One important point to say, not compulsory. It is not compulsory. But when we are talking about a class method, it is compulsory. When we are talking about the static method, it is not a compulsory. Now last one, how to access these methods? How to access these methods? By using class names or by using object reference also, there is no problem. We can access by using class name or by using the object reference. So static methods can be used for what? For utility purpose we are going to use this one. We can also call static methods as general utility methods. So we are not using instance or class level variables here. Okay, we are not using instance or static instance or class level variables here. Next, here no need of having CLS or self variable here. We can declare static method by using what? @ static method. Is it compulsory? It is not compulsory. But to make clear, to make it as a which method it is, we are going to use @ static method, but it is not compulsory. Next, how to access it? By using class name or object reference. Okay, now let us see. Before going to example, I will show you what is the difference between how we can understand a method as a static method or a method as a class method or a method as a instance method. Just see. Now I will show you that one. Just if you are going to write any method, define M1. If you leave it as it is, then I can say it one as a static method, because there is no, at least if there is one parameter, I will check for whether it is instance or class. Is there any parameter? Is there? No. Directly I can say this method as what? Static method. If you lead to confusion, so just for that I am going to write here it as a static method. It is not compulsory. Without having the static method also I can say what? By seeing this one I can say it as a static method. Next one, if you are going to write define M1, and here one parameter, at least you are going to write one parameter here, for example. So by seeing this parameter, you may have some doubt that whether it is instance or whether it is a class. Is there any decorator here? There is no decorator. So it is not a class method. So I can say this method as what? Instance method. Okay. Next, here I am going to write define M1 CLS. I am going to write. Now see, here at least one parameter is there. So I can think what? It as a instance method or it as a class method. So is it instance method or class method? It is an instance method. You may think that, sir, here one CLS is there. The name may be different. There is no problem about the name. But to make it as a class method, I have to write what? Here class method I have to write. So now see, I can say this one as a class method because of not this CLS, because of this @class method. I can say this method as what? Class method. This method is what? This method is instance method. How can I say? At least one parameter is there, and there is no concept of @class method. There is no decorator is there. This method is what? This method is a static method. How you can say? Not by seeing this one. We can say without having any parameter. We can by seeing this one we can say that. Okay, right? This is to not make confuse. I will not make you confused. So better use this @static method, but it is not compulsory. But in this case, @class method is compulsory to make this method as a class method. Okay, just I will take a small example. You may think that, sir, you are telling that no need of passing any parameters. I'm not telling that no need of passing any parameters. It is not compulsory to pass at least one parameter. I'm telling so that if I pass a parameter, it leads a confusion. Let us consider x comma y. I will take here. You may tell that, sir, here you are passing two parameters. By seeing this one parameter, I may confuse because here one parameter is there. Okay, here one parameter is there at least. So that here if I write instead of self, you may write x. I may confuse, sir. So for that, to not make you confuse, better write what? @static method. So once again, I will discuss that point now. So see, define m1 of x I am going to write. You will tell what? Which type of method is this? You may tell it as a what we can say instance method, or you can say it as a class method. You cannot say it is a class method because class method is not there. You can say it as a static method also. So better if you want to say it as a static method, better write static method so that we can understand it as a static method. Okay, so it will not act as a, sir, can it act as a instance method? Yes, if you write x dot something here, it will act as a static method. But if you are directly using x here, it will not act as a static method. Sorry, it will act as a static method. If you are writing some x dot a or something, then it acts as a instance method. So instead of self, I have written what? Instead of self, I have written x. So if you write some x dot a is nothing but self dot a. So better don't use this type of concept in static method. Just use x. X means what? A variable that I have passed to this m1. Okay. So on practicing the programs, you can differentiate about what is meant by class method, what is meant by static method, and what is meant by instance methods. So generally we will not use class methods, but mainly we will use what? Instance methods and static methods only. We will not use class methods generally or frequently, we can say. So just I will go to one program. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay, just I will take a small program for that. So here I want to perform a mathematical operations. So just I want to write operations. So just a small example, this one. So define, I am going to write addition operation. Here I will take x comma y. Okay, two parameters I want to pass here. Okay, here what we want to print? I want to print this sum. So print sum is x plus y. I want to print. So x plus y. Next, I want to do a subtraction. Okay, sub of x comma y. I can take any number of operations. Just I will take only these two operations. So here I want to perform a difference. Difference is, just I want to write x minus y. I am going to write here. So just I want to take only these things. Now how to call these methods? By using class names. Okay, so what is the class name? Operations. Operations dot add of 20 comma 30 I am taking here. Next, operations dot subtraction, sub of, I will take some 100 comma 50 I am going to take. Now observe here, what is the output we are going to get? We are going to get output as what? 50 and 50. Reason is what? 30 plus 20 is 50, 100 minus 50 is 50 only. So here by writing this one, there is no problem. By writing this one, we can understand it as a static method. So just I am writing static method. Here also I want to write, if you write or if you don't write, there is no problem. Without writing I have executed, by after writing also I will execute this one, same output will be generated. There is no difference. So see, there is no difference. To make you understand, I am writing this static method. Sir, you told that how we can make this one as a static method, sorry, instance method. See here, if I write, observe that if I write here x dot y equal to y. Now see, this one is acting as a what we can say instance method. Now observe carefully. So see, we are going to get an output error. Int object has no attribute y. Okay, some mistake we got here. Okay, now that means what? It is not executing anything. 1 minute, it is not going to return anything here. So to show you this one as an instance method, I will create an object. Okay, I will create an object of operations. Operations I am going to create. Object name is, for example, a. I am going to take a equal to operations. I am passing one variable 10. I am going to pass. Okay, now observe here. I am printing print of a dot y. A dot y. Observe carefully here. Okay, here I am not doing anything. Just I will keep this one as the addition only. And here I will print a dot y. Now see, operations takes no arguments. 1 minute. Here it is not taking any argument. Okay, 1 minute. Here I will remove this one once, and let us check here that it is going to take anything or not. Line operations, as it is there, define here what x I have taken, comma y I have taken here. So self dot I am going to take operations. 1 minute. Okay, equal to operations of 10 I have taken, so that this 10 will be passed to where? Oh, sorry, here I should not take this one, because it is what? It is a method. I am passing as a constructor here. Sorry. So just I will take a method also here. So a dot, because if there is a constructor, it will pass automatically. I thought this one as a constructor. So unfortunately, it is a method. So a dot add of 10 I am passing here. Now observe. So what happens here? 10 is going to printed. That means if I can make this method as a static method, I can make this method as a instance method. Okay, you have to understand clearly, so that better don't use x dot. If you write x dot y, in our case it is nothing but what? Self dot y. Instead of self I have written x here. In that way we can think. So whenever you are going to write, if you want to make it as a static, better don't write x dot y or anything. Just use it as a x. That's it. Okay, so this is the concept of what we can say, the concept of static methods. Now here, just I want to tell you one important point about this one. That point is, so this is very important point, right? That point is, if decorator is not used, then this is very important. Then we have to use class name only. Okay, very important point. Now I want to show you that one. 1 minute. Just here, I don't want to use this one. Instance things I will remove here. Now here a dot operations I have written. I am talking only about subtract here. Okay. Yes, this is the case. Just I will execute this one. First, there will be no problem. Difference is 50. But here I am using at the rate decorator I am using, so that I will call what? Just I will call it as a dot sub. I am calling it. While calling a dot sub, I am passing two parameters. Let us take it as a 60 comma 50. I am going to pass. Now see the output. I have called two times that method. So first time by using a class name, so that we got 50. Second time by using a object. So based on these values, I got the answer. But now let us see by removing this one. If I remove this one, what happens? Now see, we got an error, because what is the point I have discussed here? Compulsory. If decorator is not used, then we have to use class name only. This is very important point. This is very important point. Okay. If decorator is not used, then we have to use class name only. But here I am trying for what? I am trying with the object. If I try with class name, observe now. If I try with class name, there will be no problem for your program. Output will be clear. Okay. So this is about static methods. So in this session, we have seen about static. First one is instance methods. Next one is class methods. And next one is static methods. So these are basic things to enter into our object oriented programming. Okay. So in next session, we will enter into our class concepts, how to pass the members of one class to another class. We will see in next session. Okay. Thank you.